Welcome back to another episode of the Mecca of Banter podcast. It's your boy Dobes. You may not have heard me as the host because it is my first time ever hosting the podcast. Now that you guys are clocking in, you may be expecting some impartial takes from a host, some non-biased takes from a host, but I can assure you, you will not get that here. Fellas, let's dive in here. We got a big week of footy to cover. Since we've last, spoke, we had match week 22, match week 23 of the Prem. We have some international footy to cover. A little bit of Leverkusen still top of the league. Bayern Munich chasing them. We had a St. Louis City preseason game that we want to talk through. But before we dive in, let's check in with the fellas. It's only right. I've got to start with my United boy. Hen, how are we, brother? Let me hear it.
Brother, it's a great week. It's a great week to be a Manchester United fan. Let me tell you that much. Dude, I don't know if I've had more fun watching two consecutive Manchester United games in a long time. In a long periodically time. It's been great. What a great week. That image of Garnacho, Højlund, and Mainu on Old Trafford, it'll be ingrained in my brain for a long time. Don't be surprised if it's going to be up there next week. Great to see you fellas. Happy to be here.
Good to see you, Hen. You sound very happy. I like to hear it.
Yeah, bro. Why not? Why not?
Let's kick it over to the Premier League champ. Excuse me. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I saw the celebrations from the game yesterday. They didn't win the title. They just beat Liverpool. Winks, how are you, brother? Good to see you.
Incredible.
You bitch. I've got a lot of thoughts on that. No, dude, it's good, man. I mean, I think I talked about it last week or a few weeks ago that, it was if we were going to have our little dip, and I'm glad that it was in the middle of the season. And as you know, and as we'll talk about, 2 straight Prem wins after the bad run of games. So really, really excited to talk about that. Sad that my fellow North Londoner, Andy Hoover, isn't here. He's in Costa Rica right now, getting some sun. That but wish that he was here so I could rub it in his face. But nonetheless, good to see you guys. Let's do this.
Winks, good to see you. Finally, Nick, I do see a beer over there. I don't know if you're pulling a little Cole Palmer here, celebrating 2 losses in a row.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just stole my thunder there a little bit. I was going to say, of any true Chelsea supporter after the 2 matches of late deserves a beer. So that's how I definitely wanted to start it off, because, boy, was it not fun to watch. I also just realized that this is probably the worst time we've ever had Dobes host a podcast.
Let's go, baby. Back-to-back dubs.
For probably like the first time in a while. And I'm also realizing that Winks is on back-to-back. So I'm just surrounded by people who are in good spirits, and I'm over here having a beer. But I'm pumped to talk about St. Louis City. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Hayfee4. That is very active of late.
It is active. You're
getting after
very toxic. It is very toxic in the Chelsea Twitter sphere. So, I'm active there, though.
I do appreciate, though, that, obviously for the last couple episodes, you've been saying that you're back on Twitter, but it's all the texts that we get in the group chat that's not on the pod where you're like, no, it actually is terrible on Twitter. It's not okay. This is not a bit that you're doing on the podcast. This is your real life. It's a bad place to be.
Yes, 100%. I am. It's funny. I went over to St. Louis City's Twitter for a little bit, and I was like, oh, an actually decent community that's not just saying burn the club. So I was happy to see that of late after the performance of the weekend and seeing some of that Twitter side.
Before we dive in, for those of you asking, if United hadn't won back-to-back games, there's a 0% chance that I'd be hosting right now. like negative percent chance. But let's dive in, fellas. First off, we're going to start with this little Premier League recap. Bring it back to last week, Tuesday, match week 22. We're going to kick it off with the Gunners making the trip to face the Tricky Trees. Arsenal coming out with a 2-win victory. Winks, let's hear it. Give us your breakdown, brother.
Yeah, it's not. Forest has been a difficult place for us to play the last couple years. Specifically, last year we lost when we played them away. So I feel like this was a game where heading there we had to kind of go and right the ship because it is Nottingham Forest. So. And for me, we did what was expected of us, 3 points. dominated the game outside of the one defensive miscommunication. But I think, again, that goes back to, in the Premier League and in any big tournaments, you can't switch off even for a couple minutes. And, we continue to kind of have those lapses every now and then. Thankfully, not as frequent, but nonetheless, we had that little defensive mishap with Saliba and Gabriel, and so they slotted a consolation goal towards the end of the game. But besides that, we counterattacked really well. We were patient in the right moments. Gabriel Jesus played really, really well. And, he, outside of some of our other attackers, had several chances outside of the 2 goals that we did score. So I think that continuing to refine our final third decisions as far as that goes, and execute, is going to be the name of the game for the rest of the season as we continue this whole title race thing. So
what'd you say? Sorry.
Title race.
That's crazy.
Second place. Rhymes.
Is it crazy?
I will say.
I think we can go back and all of us have said how tight the title race is, almost every episode.
In a good way too. I will say though that three points away at the City Ground is like we say it all the time, as Butchie says in his accent, tough place to play.
Tough place to play.
And I think 3 points there. 3 points there is massive. I think at this point of the year, it's every game's a final if you want to stay in the title race, especially for a team like Arsenal.
Yeah.
So I think that the 2-1 win, I did kind of call it.
You did? You said 2-1, 3-1, I believe.
2-1, 3-1 because I didn't trust myself saying 3-1, so I'm going to give myself some credit for that one.
Damn, 2 United wins and a correct score call out, and now he's hosting.
Do you all think like Awani, however you say his name, forward for Forest, do you think he leaves in the summer? I feel like that guy just bags goals, and quality 9s are so hard to come by. Like, I just feel like he is better than the quality than Forrest. I don't think he's like a top 6 striker, but like I feel like every time I watch him play, I'm always impressed with him. I think that he could
Does he start for Forrest? Because he didn't start in that game. Okay.
Yeah, he was coming off of an injury. Yeah.
I never know with Forrest. Forrest just seems like a revolving door of players for me. It's like I never really know who's going to end up being there, who's going to stay, who's going to leave. I could see him leaving, but I think you're right. It's like if they stay in the Prem, if Forrest stays up, I think he probably stays because I don't necessarily know where else he moves to, if that makes sense.
Like, this may not be like a crazy shout because they're also kind of in some trouble, but I could see him going to like an Everton. Like, I could see like Calvert-Lewin kind of getting poached to go somewhere. And I could see him going to Everton and kind of having like a good career in that, like, middle of the league team. I think he's pretty solid.
I love it. Moving on to the other half of North London. Hoover's not here, but we do have to give our boy a shout. Last Wednesday, Brentford made the visit to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs came out with a 3-2 victory. To be honest, I don't know if you guys watched this game. The really only notable things I have is James Maddison made his return to the starting 11 after coming back off the bench previously. And Ivan Toney made his return to the starting 11 as well after coming off of the betting scandal. One of us. Any thoughts, fellas?
Yeah, dude, this game was awesome. If you go back and watch all you need to do is watch the highlights because it was insane. So, one of the best Twitter moments of the entire season happened. So Neil Maupay scores against Tottenham, and in order to kind of rile the team up, goes to the corner and does James Maddison's dart celebration right in front of the Tottenham fans. And of course, they go crazy. They're all like yelling at him, calling him a wank, all this stuff. The photos are incredible of them just like motherfucking him from the stands. And then they control the rest of the half. Like, it wasn't like it was super back and forth. It was kind of that like back and forth, wide open play that we're used to from Tottenham. And then coming right off of the halftime break, Tottenham scored 2 right away. So 48 minutes in and 49 minutes in, and then 56 minutes, they go up 3-1. And each goal celebration that Tottenham scored, they were giving it right back to Maupay. Like, absolutely incredible. Brendan Johnson, when he scored to go up 2-1, literally turned to Maupay and did it right at him. And then, like, everyone's going insane, obviously. Richie gets his goal, a great goal. Celebrates against Brentford, and then Tony scores in the 67th. But 3-2 game, back and forth. Awesome game, exactly what you want to see against Spurs. But then right after, James Maddison puts out an Instagram post basically taking a dig at Mupai for doing his celebration, and then Mupai comes out and does an Instagram post saying that he has more goals and less relegations than James Maddison, which is like a real caption that he put on Instagram. Which is just great. It's just box office. Like we've said so many times this season, like Tottenham are just a box office team this season. Like you have to watch them play. And this game is no different. Like it was just great from start to finish. And, you know, there's a lot of other things that happened in the game. Like, I remember texting Hoove when I went back and watched all the highlights in depth of the match. And, like, they're just such a fun team, and they're a bunch of dogs. And this is definitely one that if you haven't gone back and watched the highlights, go and watch the highlights of that game.
I will say, Maupay, since, like, even back in his, like, Brighton days, like, he's the king of shithousery. Like, he loves
Absolutely.
it. He loves it, like, no matter what. And then you add, like, just James Maddison and Richie and some of the guys that have Spurs, like all of, like it's just a perfect like old Barclays Prem shithousery back and forth. I will say, fellas, I mean I know this includes this weekend's game, but Richie's got the most goals of any striker since December.
Yeah, he's balling, bro. He's absolutely balling.
Like he's starting to find some form. I don't necessarily know if I would consider Spurs to be like in the title race. I think they're 7 points off right now, but at the same time, you kind of never know what can happen.
I also hate to say it, but Timo has I think had an impact already on the side.
Totally.
I think he's opening up space for Richie a whole bunch. Obviously, I still don't think he can hit a goal to save his life because he had a couple of chances in this game, but he's still finding good spots, and I think that is allowing Richie some of that freedom in some of his runs. He's having one guy instead of two guys on him, and I think that's allowing him to get open more.
Yeah, it is scary if he does find his form continuously. Like, I mean, he can really go on a tear. And, you know, obviously jumping ahead a little bit, but he had 2 against Everton, and his second goal was a banger. Like, it was not a tap-in. It was not, like, just an easy striker's goal. Like, it was crazy. It was a hell of a finish. So I just think that, you know, the forward position is such a I don't know, you have to be in form. It's a streaky position. Sometimes you go through games where you score 5 in a row and then you don't score for a month and a half. So I think he's playing really well. And Nick, to your point, I do think that Werner's opening up lots for him. And we'll see how they accommodate once Sonny comes back. I don't think that Sonny makes him worse by any means, but sometimes they might be occupying similar positions, and that always just creates chaos.
They're just feeding Sonny more than Timo. Like, Sonny's on the pitch, like, they're going to get him the ball. With Timo, they're like, maybe I don't play him. Oh, Richie down the middle? I'll play it.
Find him.
Timo finds those great spots, kind of like where Sonny does, but Sonny's just more clinical. Sonny's left foot and can do anything. The last point before we move on to the next one, I think we kind of have to mention Ivan Toney. Like, he's back, scoring goals, doing his thing. I don't necessarily want to get into the transfer speculation, but I do think that if he can continue scoring goals, like I think he's probably like the main striker who's, at least I think in the Prem, that's going to be making a move to a big six club. I see Nicky wanting him. I hate to say it, I do think he's kind of the perfect fit for Arsenal. I'm personally an Ivan Toney fan, so I always love seeing him.
I just want any striker, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, Dobes.
I heard Lukaku's available. Lukaku
anyone except the name Lukaku.
No, I think that he is like
foot at Stamford Bridge ever again.
He's the big name. You know, Tony is the big name, but I think it is kind of an interesting thing. If he doesn't get the move this summer, if it's not Chelsea, if it's not Arsenal this summer, I kind of question if he's going to get it at all. You know, his story, like he didn't make it at Newcastle. He wasn't getting the games, and so he dropped down several divisions to kind of rebuild his career, which I respect the hell out of. That's great, but I don't know. You just don't know with what goes on behind closed doors. I would love to see him at a bigger club as well because I think he's a baller, but he could also turn into one of those like what could have been stories. I don't know, but I guess we'll see this summer. Chelsea and Arsenal have to be the destinations. I don't see him going anywhere else.
Yeah, I'm with that. All right, Nicky, are you ready? Like this is the first of 2 that we got to get through here. Are you ready?
I don't know if I have enough alcohol.
Hey,
but yeah.
You got this, buddy. You got this. Thoughts and prayers.
All right, fellas, moving on to the next game from last Wednesday. Chelsea made the trip to Anfield, took a 4-1 loss. Obviously, Butchie's not here to sort of take his flowers. Nick, talk us through this one. Obviously, not what you want to see. I did think you guys had a shot going in. Obviously, it didn't take place. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, and before I get into it, I wanted to start it off by saying this, and this I don't want to it sounds like I'm making a bunch of excuses, but this is before I completely ream Chelsea and talk about a dominating performance by Liverpool. But I will say the officiating was very much under the Klopp script for this game. I think a couple of us said it in the group messages that there was absolutely no way we were going to get a call this game with all of the stuff that had come out in the upcoming week. Obviously, Klopp resigning and the announcement of his dock. There was a couple of questionable calls that obviously, like Gallagher's pen early on, I think it was a pen. I think that could have changed the outcome of the game. I don't know. We still got dominated for the majority of the game, so I'm not going to act like that would have completely changed the outcome. But I just wanted to let that be known that the officiating was horrid. But that isn't going to take away from the fact that we did lose 4-1, and we got absolutely dominated by Liverpool. I will say, and you had it on your notes, Dobes, and I think you hit it right on the head. Liverpool finally played a competent right back defensively and knows how to play his position. They had a Connor Bradley, I believe, play for them, and in doing so, it left Chilwell completely out on an island because Pochettino consistently likes to start Raheem Sterling, who is absolutely horrid and does not play defense at all. So Chilwell was left with two people pretty much the entire game and got put on an island. And in doing that, it kind of showed that something that I've been not really wanting to admit to everyone, but Silva's legs are just not there anymore.
What?
That's crazy, dude. That's wild.
I think it's very blatantly obvious now. I love, like, on the flip side, he does have, like, in both these recent games, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing considering the scorelines, but he consistently has our most passes of anyone. So, like, he's definitely
that's normal of a center back, though.
Yes, very true, but, like, his brain I love as well, but there was many times in this game that he was caught on the wrong foot and did not look good. I also hated our starting lineup. I think Cole Palmer is getting the Kai treatment. I think, Henry, you shouted that out, but we're playing him out of position because we don't have a striker who can find the back of the net, so we're trying to find our best player and just putting them there, and I think that's what he was literally trying to do with Cole, and it did not work. I thought it could have been a lot worse. Nunez should have had maybe 5 goals, but since he as well cannot,
including
he
the
literally
pen.
can't score to save his life. He hit the post twice. He had a pen. Like, it should have been a lot worse.
I forgot about the pen till right now.
Yeah, so it could have been way worse. I will also say Mudryk missed a sitter, so, like, I don't know what's going on with him. I personally, like, I don't understand why we haven't given him some consistent starts. I know he hasn't been performing or doesn't have the goals and assists to back it up, but we're playing Sterling over him, who is absolutely atrocious. So, like, giving Mudryk consistent starts and some playing time is something that I want to look for in the future. The only bright spot I can say from this, and it wasn't lasting that long because of the next game afterwards and his performance, but Nkunku coming on off the bench and providing a little spark for us to score a nice goal, I thought it was fantastic, but it wasn't long-lasting because he had an awful performance the next game. So, yeah, that was the really only bright spot I had. I thought Liverpool looked like a different team with an actual right back. They completely dominated us, and it was completely different than the first round.
Hen, I know you got something to say.
I was just going to ask if you saw Mudryk going back and forth with the fan on Instagram, telling him that he'll 1v1 him for £10,000. This guy was just hammering Mudryk in his DMs, and Mudryk's first response was 1v1 me for £10,000. And the guy's response was, I don't want to 1v1 you. I just want you to score a goal. It's like all he said. And I was like, yeah, bro. Like, that's what it is. It's crazy. What I just can't comprehend, like, it honestly sounds, for as much rhetoric as we have on this podcast of, you know, as many things as we go back to about, like, Arsenal being bottlers, United being a circus, like, I just can't comprehend how there isn't more media swarming Pochettino being out, being sacked. I can't understand it
that
at all.
Made no sense. Like that lineup, like even looking at it makes no sense.
It was something that I was honestly going to bring up literally after we talk about Wolves because it's another disaster class by him. But Henry, you say that, and obviously I've been deep in Chelsea Twitter of late as I've been saying it, but they all want his head. Everyone, the Twitter are saying him out. They want to burn the club. They want sporting director. They want everyone out. They think the board is trash. Like, people are not happy with Chelsea right now at all as far as the fandom goes.
Yeah, and I get it, like, fans, because of course you want your team to do well. There's no fan out there that's like, it's fine that we're losing. Like, no one does that.
Very true.
But like when I look at even like Sky Sports or I look at like other notable people, there's literally no one talking about Pochettino being on the hot seat. And like that could be one of two things. That could be that like Pochettino is like a sweetheart of English media because of what he did at Tottenham and all of that stuff.
I think
or
that does have
people
to
just like genuinely don't fucking care about Chelsea. Like that could also be the other thing where it's
Is that what you think it is, Hen? Was that where that whole thing was going to?
Not really, but I'm just trying to make sense of it. Like Ten Hag, like I mean, it's not about Ten Hag, but I'm just saying like the vast difference between the two.
Clicks. And not in like a banter way. It is what it is. I personally like, and we can get to it more after Wolves, but like I don't think there's any manager that can come in and fix Chelsea. Like when you spend what you spend on literally random players. Like it's random. Every day there's somebody
random raw talent is what we went for.
I don't know who you are. And I feel like that doesn't work for any manager because it's like throwing players together and being like, hopefully this works.
Yeah, you say that, but the one thing I will say is I haven't even seen an attempt from him. Yeah. I haven't seen an attempt from Pochettino. I have not seen a drastic change in something that has been an attempt for him to try to have any bit of identity in this team. Like, I think he's throwing out random lineups, hoping one will work so that he can just stick with that one and then ride it out. But besides that, as far as the way we play, the identity, the formation, the strikerless side, like, the identity has not changed. And that's the one thing that, like, I'm not saying I want him out yet, but, like, something has to happen. Some change needs to be visible in my mind when I'm watching us. Like, even if it fails, if it drastically fails, by all means, at least we can be like, okay, he tried, and it did not work out.
Yeah, like right this was the plan, and it didn't work.
Exactly. Right now, we have no idea. I will also say one thing I just want to add. I told you guys anything above 12th, I'd be happy with.
You're saving your own ass there, brother.
So happy for you.
I did see something that at the same point, I guess this is taking the Wolves game into account. I did see something that was comparing Poch to Potter, and Potter was one more point higher, and I think one more place in the table higher than they currently sit right now. If that doesn't,
I hate to say it though, Potter had no impact either, but leave that.
That's so funny, bro.
Now on to my favorite segment. We're going to head over to the United Corner.
Love it.
Last Thursday, a game that on paper I was extremely nervous for, away at Wolves. I think the last 3 times that Manchester United has played Wolves, I think it was 1-0. Us the last 2 times, I think 1-0. Wolves before that. United came away with the 4-3 victory. Kobe Mainoo did his thing. Hen, let me hear it, man. Break it down.
Yeah, bro. First things first. Almost 0% of me during this game felt confident that we were going to pull away with a win. So the scoring timeline, Rashford 5 minutes in, which, by the way, Ten Hag makes a statement because last episode we talked about how, Rashford went out in Belfast, did his thing, and Ten Hag said, you're going straight into the starting 11. And Rashford repaid that right away. 5 minutes in, gets a goal, a great goal, striker's goal. It was fantastic, brilliant layoff by Højlund, and then Højlund scores 22 minutes in to go 2-0 up. Now, with that, we start off. Nick, what? What do you want to say?
No, it was going to be. Calm down, Henry. I was just going to say, like, what a fucking statement. Like,
I think it's crazy that
after
your
all
manager
the media
rewards
you've
him.
been in and you score in, like, what was it, 6 minutes? Or
Yeah,
like,
bro.
I think that's incredible. Like, what a, like, fuck you, motherfuckers. Like, I'm going to score and bag a goal.
It's more of a, like, you start him because then there's no story. If you don't start him, it's like, when's he coming in? Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? It's like you start him, it's over.
Yep, that's a good way to say it. So we play the first half. We look great. The entire first half, we're playing well. Both goals came from really great passages of play. Like, you can't argue with it. Getting crosses in, playing from the wings, playing into the middle. Like, we went away from all of our wingers cutting in and just shooting the ball 30 yards over the net. So that was great to see. And then as we move into the second half, 70 minutes in, there is I'm not afraid to say it, it's probably the softest pen we've seen all season. If you go and look at it, Casemiro genuinely doesn't touch him at all, doesn't touch Neto. Neto goes down, gets the pen, even after VAR review. And at 2-1, I was like, all right, here we go. It's Wolves. It's our bogey team. That's going to happen. McTominay scores 4 minutes later to go up 3-1. And I kid you not, I almost put $100 on Wolves tying it at 3-3. There was just something about the game that I felt like Wolves were going to come right back, make it happen, and sure enough, that's what they did. They score the second goal off a corner kick, which, you know, for the life of me, we've been talking about how Onana has had terrible form all season, but one of the main things that he does is he stays on his line, and at this point, like, I feel like it's something that the coaching staff has told him to do, or maybe he's just, you know, making these decisions because that man does not leave his line no matter what. So he doesn't clear the ball on the corner, drops, gets deflected in the middle of the net, goes in 3-2, and then instead of killing the clock off in the corner, Antony decides to try to dribble into three people at the top of the box. They transition down. Neto does what Neto does, skins Varane, finishes near post. Beautiful. 3-3 in the 95th minute. We look like that's curtains. And then it takes, 18-year-old Kobe Manu to show that he's the top three midfielder in England. Dices up a guy in the middle of the field with a beautiful nutmeg, and then tucks it away far corner like he's done it 100 times. Tells the crowd to calm down a little bit.
Selly was so cool.
He's just
so
him.
Cool.
It's one of those games that it finishes 4-3, and you're stoked because what a way to finish. How exciting is that Manu gets his first Premier League goal? He's just showing his class, but that game doesn't end 4-3, and I'm sitting here fuming because we gave up a 2-goal lead twice in that game, and it's just like another example of us not being able to kill off games. And the issue comes in where you look at the first 70 minutes and we're playing really well, but then we have to make subs because every team has to make subs, and you just have to do that, and our secondary group just isn't up to the task. You put our starting 11 out there, we can pretty much go toe-to-toe with a lot of teams, maybe not every team, but a lot of teams we can play pretty well. You bring in our secondary group, and it's like they can't cut it. So we bring in those subs, and that's when shit hits the fan. So I'm stoked that we walk away 4-3. There's a lot of positives to take from that game, which we obviously saw bringing it into West Ham. But I'm glad that we came away 4-3, and a lot of positives.
I think for me, when you watch those first, and people may say this is overreacting when I say this, but because it does involve this game this past weekend as well. But those 70 minutes show me why you back Ten Hag. And what I mean by that is when he has his 11, we play better. Like, we play beautiful, like, gorgeous soccer. We can keep the ball. We scored 2 great goals. And then the moment, it's no coincidence. You look at our 2 subs, 73rd minute, McTominay and Antony come on. All of a sudden the game gets tied, like back to back. The moment that you have to take Casemiro out of that game, we become a squad that's not the same. And that's kind of what we've been saying and almost betting and praying on for this entire time is, like, when Cassie gets back and Martinez gets back, like, if then we don't play well, then, like, there's some things with Ten Hag. But, like, when you see the 11, and yes, like, Newport was kind of their first game back together, but then you see the first half, and it's like it's a completely different team. It's like their structure, the combination of Licha sort of dictating play and Casemiro and letting Mano, like, it just works. But then the moment that you see the drop-off, it's like we have a great team. We don't have a great squad.
Yeah, totally.
That's kind of what we're banking on now is we're banking on an 11 to stay healthy, and we'll get into it later about Licha. But you have to just, like, kind of credit the win. Like, no matter what it is, Kobe Manu's 18 years old. The moment, of course, that he scores that goal, he's getting rumored to get called up to Ghana. I'm going to put out a hot take right now. Don't be surprised if he's starting next to Declan Rice in the Euros this summer.
100%. 100%.
But 4-3, I mean, like, there's not much more you can ask for. I do feel bad for Jake, just a little personal. I was golfing as this game is going on. I didn't miss a minute of the game because I was watching in the cart. We literally got finished with 18 right as Kobe Manu scored, and I was just sprinting around the parking lot. Man, I was yelling, screaming. I don't care who's teeing off, who's doing what. I was freaking the fuck.
Dude, it's one of those goals that makes you just like love the game, and obviously like you want to see that goal scored for your club. But as a fan of the game, like there's just not much better that you can see than an 18-year-old pulling a meg like that and finish
for Liverpool. It's the same.
Totally.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Totally, and you're stoked for the kid, and I think like that goal will get all the headlines. It deserves it. I think I made a GIF of it on my phone, and I'll be throwing that in the chat as much as I can over the next couple of months. But the other thing is we're starting to finally see, and we'll talk about it with the West Ham game, but we're really seeing the emergence of Højlund. He's a couple games in a row now scoring. But it's not just that; it's the link-up play as well. Gets the assist on Rashford's goal for the first one, and it's a beautiful layoff play. It's a beautiful. We talk about how Arsenal is like a striker away, or Chelsea doesn't have a striker, and United hasn't had a striker in so long. And I'm not saying that Højlund is the best player in the entire world, but those are those little plays that a really like good striker with great instincts and great positioning. Those are those little things where he sucks in two defenders because they think he's going to turn, and he lays it off to Rashford. Rashford has a one-time finish. It's awesome to see, and there's been a lot of like media interviews with Rasmus this week, and I mean, kid's a warrior. Like, he's a future captain of United. He's fantastic, and I guess we're just starting to see the emergence of those leaders in the dressing room. And Garnacho, Manu, and Højlund all have those leadership qualities. It's great for 18, 19, and 20 years old.
Yep, well said. So we're going to move on now to match week 23. I was looking forward to match week 23 a lot more than most recent. Reason being is because it actually felt like the Prem was back to me. Like, we had the 6:30 a.m. game. We had a full day of games. We had a full day of Sunday games with some crackers. But I don't know if anybody got up. I got up for the 6:30 game. I watched Spurs at Everton. Yep. That game finished 2-2. Anybody have any thoughts?
I didn't know that it finished 2-2 because I turned it off in the 90th thinking that Tottenham had a convincing win over Everton. So I don't know what happened on the fourth goal. Didn't watch it, but I will touch on Richie. I mean, he has the headlines again. 2 goals, 2 great goals. I spoke about it earlier, but that second goal was a hell of a finish. But Everton proves, even with the point deduction, Everton proves to be a tricky team. They battle, they work hard, and they make things happen. Jared Branthwaite is keyed up for a big money move this summer. Don't know who's going to get him, but bro. He's going somewhere, I just think that Spurs kind of executed the game plan exactly how you wanted to. And again, I can't speak on the last goal, but entertaining game, box office game, and unfortunate to come away with just 1 point. But I was really impressed with Spurs this game, and I don't know, surprised that they didn't take all 3.
I think Spurs are kind of an AFCON / like Asian Cup away from like not being in this title race, but like that's a massive point to drop, just even in the top 4 race. Like, and I think if you add Sonny and you add Sarr and that midfield Basuma, like I think that they win that game. And they're failing to close out games has sort of been their kind of issue. And I think if you add those pieces, I do think they close that game out. But again, massive point for Everton. I'm looking at the table right now. Everton's currently sitting in 18th, sitting 1 point behind Luton. So like Everton right now is in a relegation spot.
Yeah,
so
huge.
That's a massive goal for them. Nikki, Winks, any thoughts? If not, happy to move on.
No, I mean, yeah, to echo on what you were finishing up with there, yeah, Everton's got City next game too, so.
Oh boy.
Wait, can I
not
get
looking
your
bright.
Can I get your thoughts on this? I know that I put a poll out on Twitter, and I appreciate everyone voting on it because we got quite a few votes on it. But Richie didn't celebrate either goal against Everton. And what are your personal thoughts on celebrating against your former team when you score?
I personally think it's all situational. Like, if you're like, let's say you were on a club for a year after you were on a side for 10 years, and then you're only on a club for a year, then you go to another club. Like, I don't think that's a big deal. But if you're on a side for like 3+ years and you leave them and go to another Premier League side, I don't think you should celebrate during a goal.
Yeah, I think it also depends on how you left the club.
Very true.
Like if you left for bad reasons, like go for it. I also think it depends on the player too, right? Like some are just more respectful. I'm sure there's been instances where like players have scored against their own club and like it didn't fully register after they scored and they celebrated just as like second nature. But yeah, I think that I don't know, with all this stuff going around lately, very lately, of like when it's okay to celebrate doing good things and when it's not. It's soccer and like it's football, and if you can't celebrate doing something good,
he's teeing this up. This is
so bad. Yeah. No, but I also respect not wanting to celebrate against your own club. I think that there's a bit of class that goes into that. As much as I don't like Richie, I respect it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Nikki. I think it all depends on situation. Like Richie went from Watford to Everton, and then Everton is kind of where he not like made his career, but like Everton is what got him like Brazil call-ups. It's where he started bagging goals. It's where it's where his name got out there. Like he helped them stay in the Prem. Like he's got that like love. So Richie, I get it to where it's like, yep, you scored, probably not celebrate. You could definitely tell though how bad he wanted to celebrate after that first one. He like got ready to run and then just immediately like froze up. I do think there's situations like Wing said, where if you leave a club on a bad note, like a Van Persie Arsenal thing, like fucking celebrate all you want because
I think it's even more you should.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it at all.
I just think like I don't know. I watched that second goal go in of Richie's, and it was a banger. It was an absolute banger, and I'm like, what's the harm in running to the corner and just being like, that's great. You don't have to like do a fucking windmill and like wind everyone up, but like he literally like made it look like he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. It's like, bro, you left that place a hero. You left for like 60 million pounds. Like that's a huge transfer for Everton. You kept them up. Like you have no shame in whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I just think that like he did that, and I was like, you should have celebrated that. You don't have to be an asshole about it, but like you could have definitely like run to the corner and given a little like whatever, and I don't think anyone would have had a problem with it. I just think that sometimes like footballers try to be like too social media friendly, I think, and they like just try to like do it for the photos. Where like you don't need to be there and like, ooh, I'm sorry, like you scored a goal. It's your job, bro. Just like be happy with it. I don't get it.
I don't know. Football is one of those games of just like there's so many. I feel like unwritten rules.
Totally,
it's like unwritten
it's a
rules.
Beautiful game.
Yeah, beautiful game. Speaking of unwritten rules, we're gonna move on to our next game, and that's gonna be never count out Luton.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys watch this game, despite the fact that we did have in Arsenal Liverpool. This was the game of the weekend, in my opinion. If you watch this one, this was prime Barclays. Luton, small club, barely battling against relegation, against to some, I guess you could call them mighty former Champions League participants, Newcastle at James.
Wore a trophy.
Wore a trophy. This game finished 4-4, fellas. Anybody have any thoughts here?
I might make a statement, and it might be because of this drink I'm having over here, but
Great.
I'd take Ross Barkley back in my midfield.
Dude, he's great. He's great. He's been great.
Thanks.
I mean, he's playing like a madman. I think that's the name of the game. Like he's making that entire team tick. Without him, they're not doing any of the things that they're doing. But a 4-4 result from a Newcastle perspective is embarrassing. From Luton, that's something you hang your hat on, Chief. Like you take a picture of that, you put it in the dressing room as like an inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, especially sort of the way, like, just looking at the way the game started, it's like, Longstaff scores once, Osha comes back, then Newcastle score again, and then Luton come back and score 2 goals unanswered to take the lead. Just the way the ebbs and flows of this game. Luton is not quite in Spurs must-watch, entertaining territory, but to me, they're sure getting close. Just because if they continue to do this, they're in almost every game they play. And you also can't count them out, it seems like.
Well, it's like they're the Leeds of 2 years ago, where it's like they're going to score goals and they're going to concede goals. It's just great to see.
That's a great comparison. I don't know about you guys. I do like Everton. I'm really rooting for Luton to stay up just because I think that ground is so cool. I think the players they have, like a rejuvenation of Ross Barkley carrying them just to stay up in the league, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, if they stay up, they also get, however much money it is just for staying up in the league and being in the league next year, that, they'll be able to make those additions to their grounds and buy more players. But yeah, with the Barkley situation, I think that it's with him. It could also be one of those things where, like, I know he's had his moments throughout his career, but at this stage in his career, right, he's, whenever he left to go to Luton, he left because he wasn't, the biggest name at the club or the best all around player. But here he gets to like be the guy. And so I could see that being a big reason why he's, excelling like he has been, because he's one of the older guys on the team, and he now can, take that leadership role. He's been there, done that. So Nicky, I don't know if you'd want him back with that in mind, but I think he's in a good spot.
Yeah, I think he's in a great spot for his career. And like, mind you, when he was at Everton, like, Ross Barkley was one of my favorite players, genuinely. Like, I played, Butch isn't here. Butch can attest to this. I played with Everton on FIFA 12, FIFA 13 all the time. And, like, Ross Barkley and Lukaku when he was there, Kevin Morales, like, all these guys I really liked. And
bag a goal.
Yeah, bro. And, like, he could bang in shots too. Like, and then when he went to Chelsea, I understood it, obviously, because it's a huge move and he was going to go somewhere, but it never worked out for him. Like, he didn't really get a consistent run of games, and his career kind of went by the wayside. Yeah, like, it went by the wayside. Like, mind you, it was around the same time that they brought over Danny Drinkwater, and that guy never touched the field either. And so,
what a
like,
wild name. I haven't.
Yeah. Well, like, when you think about that, like, they make signings based on, like, the English cap. Like, you have to have a certain amount of players. It's like why, Calvin Phillips went to Man City. It's the same thing. Like, it just is what it is. But, I thought his career was done. But he goes to France, has an all right season in France, and now he's at Luton. And exactly like you said, Lucas, he is the guy now. And he's able to be the guy. He still has that quality in him. He's not going to be a world beater all the time. I don't know if he's going to start for a top 6 club ever again, but he is solidifying himself of, like, if Luton does go down, he'll for sure be picked up by another Prem team, and that's great for his career, and it's fun to watch.
This debate was going on Twitter between today and yesterday after that game happened. If you're just say that your club is Luton, would you rather stay in the Prem and like lose 3/4 of your games but stay in the Prem, or would you rather go to the Championship and like win every week?
Yeah, that's a good debate.
Like, cause to me it's kind of like, I don't know, having like a United or having an Arsenal like come visit your ground is like, it's like a very special thing. But at the same time, like, you are literally getting your ass kicked 3/4 of the season and just watching your team lose.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think for someone like Luton, I think you'd rather stay in the Prem because it's been so long since, like, you've been in the Prem. But, like, a Southampton, for example, where they were just getting their shit rocked all season last season, and now they're playing great in the Championship, and they're going to come right back up. You need that reset year to, like, go and win a couple of games, understand what we're doing with the identity. But for Luton, like, bounce around to the Prem for a little bit. Leicester, like, for a couple of years, like, bounce around the Prem for a little bit. Like, I just think for West Brom, whenever they come back up to the Prem, like, I think you'd rather be in the Prem playing those top games than, like, just winning in the Championship. Like, I think you would just rather do that. And who knows, if they win a couple of games and they stay up in the Prem, like, you get better the next season. Just is what it is.
Yeah. Well, speaking of relegation, moving on to Sunday. Nicky,
it's a really good transition.
Nicky, we got to do this again, man. We got to put you through this again. I physically don't want to do this, but we got to talk about it, man. I mean, 4-2 to Wolves at home. I mean, coming off of Liverpool, kind of the same result. Break this one down.
Yeah, this one was a rough one for the kid. Was screaming at my TV for majority of it. Had to turn it off in the 70th. But lineup gets released. I'm happier than I have been. Okay, I shouldn't even say the word happy, but I'm more interested in our lineup than I have been in a little bit. We have Nkunku starting at striker, Palmer out on the right side. Unfortunately, Sterling still starting on the left, but I was like, whatever, at least we have Nkunku starting up top. Opening 20 minutes of the game, I was thrilled. Our opening goal, I don't know if you guys saw it, brilliant build-up. Caicedo plays Cole Palmer in.
That's all I saw.
Cole Palmer finishes it with his weak foot and buries it in the side netting. Great finish. I thought we were about to start flying. Of course not. I was wrong. We drastically fell in the roller coaster that we have been this year. I don't even know where to start with it. And Nkunku was literally absent. I kind of alluded to it in the earlier discussion. Yeah, he came on as a sub against Liverpool, but with the start against Wolves, there was moments during the game that I genuinely forgot he was on the pitch. Like, had no idea he was even playing. He was pressing average. That's one thing. Like, at least Nico Jackson freaking runs and presses hard. He was very absent. And then the person who I thought had the worst game and I think needs some looking into is Caicedo. Four giveaways leading to chances during this game. Multiple mess ups from him that led to chances that should have been and some were goals. He also
that was exactly why back whenever, we were fighting for him, I was like, yeah, you guys take him because I just knew
that was your thought. You didn't have him as your background or anything? Yeah, okay.
So enjoy that.
Yeah. He had a shocker this game, and he should have had a red. I also think I like, if you want to go into really great detail about it, like, I think the way Poch approached with this lineup put him and Chilwell on an island again. Sterling has no defensive effort whatsoever down that side, so when Chilwell gets beat, Moises Caicedo or Enzo is having to play like another wing back and retreat back into that position, and it caused Caicedo to put in crazy tackles and then be in weird positions to play out of the back that he's not used to. There's so much that goes into it. And to be honest, going into halftime, we were down 2-1, both deflection goals. Both were out of counterattacking positions, and this goes into the whole Thiago Silva and his legs again. Both those goals were deflections that I don't think would have happened if he was in the pace that he used to be. But going into halftime 2-1, I'm thinking, okay, we are still in this game. And no changes were made at halftime by Pochettino. It was a shocker again. I don't know why we didn't make any changes. I thought it was blatantly obvious that we were getting dominated the second part of the first half. And then, of course, he makes a sub in the 60th, I believe, for Nico Jackson. Nico immediately comes on and misses a wide-open header that I screamed at my TV for. And then in the pursuing transition, Gusto allows a pen, and they score to put it to 3-1. He then subs on, I think, Badia's Shield for Thiago Silva and Chilwell, and then I was absolutely frustrated at this point, and I turned off the game, and it is quickly been becoming a thing where I do not finish many of the Chelsea games of late after the awful performances. So that's pretty much all I had for this one. I didn't know if you guys watched the game at all or had any takeaways, but yeah, that's what I had.
I think you were missing a key event in the game. We had the timeline broken down of the goals, 19th minute, 22nd minute. There was something that happened around the 12:30 mark.
12? Oh, I don't have our outline pulled up. I have my own notes.
Nikki, let me just say hypothetical that Garnacho, let's just say Garnacho, Starboy. Let's just say we lost to Liverpool. We got beat home at Wolves. What would you say about him celebrating those? What would you say?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw similar clips that I saw. I don't really think a lot of crazy celebrations were happening. But I mean, going out enjoying a nice beverage like myself, as I started out with this podcast, I think was definitely deserved after the stressful games of late. So, as far as that, I don't think it's that of concerning to me as long as he shows up to training the next day, which I think he did. So yeah.
How the standards have fallen, my friends. How the standards have fallen.
Last week you were talking about how it's okay to go out and have a nice little drink every once in a while.
I said we should get rid of Rashford. I said quite literally the exact opposite of that.
Nikki, it's really not looking good, bro. I'm so sorry. Like, I do genuinely. I applaud you week after week, month after month, in what is now year after year of coming on here and showing your face and giving your insight. But, like, it's tough, bro. It is tough to watch, and none of us are like Pochettino. None of us are at the level of that. We've never managed players that have like that kind of ability. It's just hard for me to look at that football club and be like, I would support them. It's just like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy from the top down. And United like has had our fair share of shit over the last couple of seasons.
Oh, yeah, fair share.
But you think about it,
you know,
right?
like every club does, you know, and then they also have Champions League in the last decade, which you guys don't. But you'll get there eventually.
Here's the deal, bro.
Yeah, we're here.
If I'm looking around the circle, like, and I look at Lucas,
When's the last time he's won a title? When's the last time Dobes has won a title? When's the last time Butch has won a title?
When's
the last time Henry's won a title?
But here's the thing.
I've won a title recently.
It was before you were a fan.
Not true at all. That was 7 years ago. Keep holding on to that, Henry. You keep pulling at this whole Chelsea narrative all the time. I think you're really a supporter of us at the end of the day.
You know what we're gonna do next episode? I'm gonna do Chelsea trivia.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring it on. Bring them on. We should all do trivias of our own clubs. I would love that. I would love that.
We won't even do like early 2000s. Like we'll do 2010.
Absolutely. We should go around the table and go fun facts around our club. I guarantee you would be hilarious.
Hey, chat. I got a segment next week. It's going to be called Trivia. We're going to have questions for all of them. I do feel for you, Nick, because it does suck. It's very enjoyable, and the only reason I say that is because United's been very bad, but we've had just you guys to fall back on that's been worse, if that makes sense. Like it.
Yeah, you guys have had a lot of clubs to fall back on of late.
Yeah, we've been playing pretty okay.
I do have to,
for years.
I do have to welcome on our buddy Butchie Main. Just joined the program. How are you, my friends? Good to see you.
Hello, gentlemen. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep, it's great you joined.
Oh, it is awesome. It is so good to see you.
Winks, GG's, brother. GG's, brother. You guys play great.
Butchie, you made it just in time for the second version of the United Corner. So as we move on to the other Sunday morning game at 8 a.m., Manchester United with thankfully the most convincing win we've had this season.
Yes.
3-0 at home to a team that I guess they were sitting in sixth, West Ham. And I know I have a ton of thoughts, but I'll let you go ahead and get started, and then I can sort of give my thoughts after.
Yeah. In contrast to the first game that we talked about, where I didn't feel confident at any moment of that game. I felt confident the entire time of this game. We did look convincing the entire time, which was so great to see. Dobes, you hit it spot on of the most convincing win that we had all season. There wasn't a moment other than when Maguire just decided to pass it to the left winger and go in on a one-on-one. Other than that moment, there wasn't even a single time that I felt nervous, in defense. Our team was so connected. The defense was together. They were celebrating blocks. They were doing all the things you need to do. That one moment that I just talked about of Maguire giving the ball away, Delo actually recovered about 60 yards to come back, block that ball, in the opposite side of the box. It was an incredible track back. It was just great to see across the board. Højlund gets the first goal of the game on his opposite foot. Absolutely sends the defender for a hot dog. And again, you just see that composure. You see that the skill is there. You see that the talent is there. And, I don't want to overhype it, especially because it's the first quality striker we've seen in a while. I'm not going to say that he's going to be the best striker in the world over the next couple of seasons, but you really do see kind of some of these things all clicking together. And he's had a great run of form. It's like what we talked about. Sometimes you go through streaky performances. He's got 4-4, and he's playing out of this world. He's doing all the right things right now, and I'm just so stoked for the guy. We talked last episode about him, screaming at Garnacho, the other game, and this time he's celebrating with Garnacho in the stands, just being part of that future of United. So I was just super pleased in this game. Great performances all around. It's really easy to see why that lineup is good together. Even Onana had a couple of good saves early on, which doesn't always happen. He had, one distribution that he just kicked straight out of bounds, trying to chip it over two defenders, but whatever. It's good to see. And of course, you'll speak more about this, but the one detriment in this is Alicia injury. And it looks like it's going to be about 8 weeks, which is a massive, massive, massive loss. But other than that, 3 points, convincing fashion, one of the best games that we've played, if not the best game we've played all season long.
No, I completely agree. And I kind of said it about the Wolves game, but it's why Ten Hag, he literally quoted to the media, "You didn't believe me." Because he's been preaching for weeks and weeks and weeks about how once he has a healthy 11, that like we're capable of this. And that's just the lack of signings we've made, the lack of everything. But to me, I think when you look at this front three that we have, like I have this in front of me, but like Garnacho, since moving to the right wing, has played 7 games, has 4 goals, 1 assist. Højlund currently has 7 goals and assists in his last 5 games. And then just in the last 5 games, Rashford has 3 goals and 1 assist. So those 3 up front have clearly found something. And then when you have that structure in the back of Alicia and a Maguire was actually very, very solid. Like he made 2 kind of questionable mistakes that he has in his game. But other than that, he played well. And then you have Dalot, who in my opinion was man of the match. And then there's Casemiro, I heard the announcers sort of talk about it. He doesn't do the pretty things all the time. But like you look at the Højlund goal, it's a dirty work. It's a tackle 10 yards away from the goal. Like those tackles all over the field. It's the pressing to where this works. Now, to me, this is like it's probably the best result of the season. We move into 6th, but to me, it feels like a loss. And the reason I've continuously said that is the most important piece to our entire team is Lisandro Martinez, because now it becomes you have to play with either personally, in my opinion, I think you have to play Luke Shaw as your left-sided center back going forward. But you either have to play a Maguire-Varane pairing and not have a left-footed, strong-sided center back. You have to play like Johnny Evans. He's the most important piece to the puzzle that we have in terms of how we play. I think he completed the most passes. He was breaking lines, playing the ball over the top. Even when he receives the ball, he's comfortable with turning a guy on his back, playing with his back to goal. The guy's got it all. And so just the fact that we lose him, it was just like right when we start to build something, it's like, fuck, he gets hurt. Now, at the same time, I do think that because we're only playing once a week, because we don't have this sort of long stretch of games, if I'm Ten Hag, I put Luke Shaw in there, I put Dalot out at left back, I put Aaron Wan-Bissaka at the back, and I stick to my principles and say, this is how we're going to play. We're going to put a 2-ball-playing center backs. We don't have to change anything.
Yep.
But we keep going back to the point that if we can't do that, if we can't have that 11 on the field, you don't know what you're going to have. What Licha brings is that South American, almost like gusto, to where it's like he's contagious, he's infectious. When he makes a block, he's up, he's screaming, he's bumping Onana, he's bumping Varane. It's little things like that it's like, as a defender, that's what you want. You want somebody that takes pride in those little things. Obviously, you want to score a goal, you want to celebrate, you want to assist as a defender. But those defenders that have the ability to take pride in the little details, like we saw Dalot on that block, get up and scream and pump his fist at the cloud. Dalot's one of those players, but when he's playing with Johnny Evans and he's playing with other players, that doesn't necessarily happen all the time.
Yeah, they don't do it.
They don't do it all the time. So extremely happy with the result. Sad for Licha because it was his 3rd game back. But at the same time, 6th place. I think we're 6 or 7 points off of 4th place. Moving up the table with Villa to come this weekend. If we can beat Villa this weekend, we're moving right up the table.
Big game.
Did Manu not get injured in that one?
No, Manu started. I will say it's a little preemptive.
I mean, yeah. Why did he come off? I thought he got. Did he come off because he was injured, or was it just?
No, he came off because he played Thursday.
Yeah, load management.
He played Thursday.
The only reason I asked is when one of you guys messaged and they're like, "Oh my God, that's the worst," and I like went over and checked FotMob and I saw like Manu being subbed off and I was like, "Oh, I guess he got hurt."
No, he's good. I will say that picture, feature statue.
Yeah,
that's a feature statue. I mean, that's a feature.
It's a sick photo.
That's
it is.
Caesar statue, those.
The one thing that irks me about Garnacho is just how much he loves Ronaldo.
Same, bro. I texted you that. I was like, it kills me, man.
Very true.
I don't know if you guys saw Angel Di Maria was like the only thing that I would change about Garnacho is that he would stop doing the Ronaldo celebrations and then he proceeds to do the Ronaldo celebration the next goal that he scores.
It's crazy.
All right, fellas. Winks, Butchie, you ready? And I'm reading our notes, so the notes everybody saw. We're moving on to the next game. We have Virgil van Dijk and Alisson shitting themselves. We have Liverpool.
Something I've been saying for a while.
Liverpool making the trip to go play Arsenal. I think it's only right, Winks, take your flowers here. That was one of the most dominant first halves I've seen in a very long time. So Winks, I'll let you start.
Yeah, man, Butch comes in here and is all nice, trying to get me to like not say my new ass. But no, I mean, this game came down to work ethic for me. I think that this was Liverpool's worst loss of the season, obviously, but I think that there were a lot of reasons for that. It wasn't by chance. 45 shots in the last 4 Prem games for Liverpool before Sunday's game against us, where they just had 1. I think that luckily Chelsea absorbed kind of the new manager bounce of Klopp announcing he was leaving, so we didn't have to. But Arteta dominated Klopp tactically, in my opinion. We saw it in their shots on target, XG against, possessions won both in the final third and on the defensive third. And we also saw it in the way that Jota and Trent were both seemingly not on the field. Obviously, you guys didn't have Mo, but you guys also beat us earlier in the season in the FA Cup without him. So there's not much to say when it comes to that, in my opinion. But first goal, did you guys all watch the game?
Yes.
So first goal was a fucking Arsenal masterclass. Yes, Kai should have scored.
Okay,
first
thank you.
time, but
You gotta include that.
There's no way you're calling that a masterclass.
I also want to point out that goal was like, I know we've kind of talked about it, or Dobes mentioned it one of the times about like Trent Alexander-Arnold and him not getting beat past for goals, but like that's a perfect example of him affecting the play and getting a goal scored on, because he was out.
Nick, that had nothing to do with Trent.
You want to bet? We can pull up the clip right now if you want.
Nick, Konate was completely out of position.
Konate was pulled out of position because Martinelli was running up the wing and Kai was running up the middle, and he did not have a right back to help him guard the winger, and he pulled himself over to help guard Martinelli and then was forced back onto Kai. It's just another example of Trent being out of position and affecting the
Nick. That's a horrible take.
Watch it. Rewatch it.
That is a horrid. You justifying a center back being that far out of position is mind blowing.
He doesn't have a right back.
But bro, you stay in the middle if you're a center back.
You don't go 30 yards to your right, brother.
He didn't go 30 yards to his right. He took one step to go for Martinelli and then one back to go for
While we're saying this, credit to Martin Odegaard for the ball, first of all.
Yes, 100%. Great ball. Great ball.
Dog. Yeah.
I'm just saying it shows that
It was one of my points I had when we were talking about Liverpool versus Chelsea and how Liverpool looked way better with Bradley on the pitch. And I think this first half of Arsenal once again amplified that again, how Trent is a problem on the defensive side of the ball.
Winks, continue.
Appreciate the backup though, Nikki. Thank you. Yeah, so Bukayo Saka picks up the garbage, puts it away, right? And towards the end of the first half, we saw Gabriel kind of felt bad about how dominant we were in that half, gave them one back. And then that was kind of the end of that. But the second goal for us was, I'm not going to say that of all three goals is not one that I'm going to personally celebrate. Obviously, BVD and Alisson.
I'd be celebrating
shit
in every room of my house.
Yeah, no, I mean we did, but if there was one goal to not celebrate, naturally it was the go-ahead goal, so we can't, is what it is. But yeah, those two, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking at all. But after that, Konate got his second yellow on a really bad challenge on Kai. Prison FC decided to elbow him in the face. And then I don't even remember the timestamp on it, but a little while after that, Trossard turns Ramen Head like a fucking traffic cone and then dribbles all the way down the field and puts it through Allison's slutty little legs. You would think that as a goalie, he is the only guy on that side of the field dribbling it down. If he's going to go for a shot, I feel like as a keeper, you need to have your near post all the way to the far side of your body covered no matter what, and force him to go across the grain, force him to pass the ball to the middle. But Allison was just like, have your way with me. And Trossard did just that.
Consensual, though.
Yeah. But, no, I think that, overall, Jorginho played out of his ass. We saw tactically how I think he worked really well in the double pivot with Declan Rice back there in the way that he was able to both in and out of possession push up. I felt like we pressed really aggressively, but he was able to push up and stick to McAllister, while Havertz and Odegaard, who if you look at his heat map and how far he ran, I think he ran like 13 or 14 kilometers. I think the farthest that any player on our team has run in a single game this season. So he was all over the place. Kai did his role really well. Jorginho was just insane, and I think that was, we've seen bits and pieces of him play like that since we signed him, but this was the first time that we kind of saw it in a complete game. He was super fun to watch. But yeah, Trent, I don't know. Butch, I'd like your opinion, but I feel like the reason that Trent was so not there was because Gomez played more inverted than Trent did the entire game. And normally we're used to seeing Trent play very inverted and affect, how you guys move forward. But Gomez seemed to slide forward next to McAllister so much in that game that Trent was only able to really play along the right side of the field the entire time, hence getting caught out of position, so on and so forth. But I think that really impacted the way that he was able to do things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about. First of all, shout out Griff. Our homie Griff hosted Dobes and I. Had a few bagels, little Java. Had a nice little freaking breakfast Danish. That was delicious, bro. That was so good.
Was that the highlight
of that day?
That really was. That really was. So credit, Wings, credit to Arsenal. You guys from the first whistle, and I said this to Dobes, he can attest to that. But from the first whistle, you guys came out and you did your normal Arsenal blitz, like you always talk about. Like that first half is a blitz at the Emirates, and it really was. And we were flat from the start. But credit goes to Arsenal for that. I don't think that's you can't sit there and say, "Oh, we played bad." You never sit there and say that to an opposing team coach or to an opposing team in general that we played bad. It's you got outplayed. So, credit to you guys. But the mistakes that were made from Allison and Van Dijk, they were obviously nobody expected that to happen, right?
I did.
What do you mean? Allison's got a mistake in him every other game.
Brother, when's the last time that you saw a bouncing ball like that with Van Dijk and Allison? Tell me.
Oh, not
Nick.
That exact situation. I thought you were just saying
that's what
from Allison.
I'm talking about that. I'm talking about that specific situation with the ball bouncing.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
I'm not an Arsenal fan by any means, but when they made that mistake, I stood up off my chair and I high-fived Griff so hard after that.
He did. No, but that specific situation doesn't happen a lot, so it was hard to swallow. But it's crazy that mistake was so laughable that the whole world forgot about how bad Saliba and Raya's mistake was. And it makes that mistake look like not even like a bad mistake, if that makes any sense. Because the own goal that Liverpool got was horrid if you look at it from an Arsenal defensive standpoint. Like, Saliba should just clear that to the moon. either clear that to the moon or Raya's got to be a little bit quicker. It can go either way. But that mistake that Liverpool made was so horrid that it's hard psychologically to bounce back from that, especially when you're playing at the Emirates. And that's credit to you guys because it's a tough atmosphere. It's a tough place to play. They're coming at you nonstop, 100 miles an hour. It's hard to regroup, and we couldn't regroup. And that was credit to Arsenal's press and Arsenal's ability to keep the ball. And like you said, Jorginho was – I even said before the game to Griff, I'm like, Jorginho starting is a huge red flag. And he even was kind of like, yeah, I don't know why Jorginho's in. And Jorginho was arguably the best player on the field. I mean, some of his passes, usually he's a sideways kind of player, which I can't stand. But Winks, do you remember his pass in the first half that he played first time through 3 defenders into somebody's feet in the 6 and they just scuffed it? Do you remember that pass?
Okay.
Genius.
Yeah.
Like that was such an amazing pass that not many players see. So kind of shows you how good he was, but very flat offensively from Liverpool. No,
here we go.
You know,
Crazy.
Here we go.
No dynamism, no creativity. It was very straightforward to me. Everything was kind of like pump and run, which it reminded me of some high school teams that we play against in St. Louis.
Who?
But
name them. Name the teams. Call them out right now.
No, I'm not going to call anybody out. I'm not going to get blasted on air right now. But it sucked not having Nunez from the start because I think Nunez would have changed a little bit. Bro, can you let me finish with your 11th place looking ass?
It would have been maybe 9 shots, But
I like Darwin.
Same amount of goals.
I'm just talking about Darwin's ability to stretch the back line. We didn't have that. Gakpo's not that kind of player. And so we didn't have that guy that runs tirelessly in behind nonstop, which would have stretched the game out because he had a foot issue. And I guess he only got 30 minutes in him or whatever. But we did miss him a lot. And obviously we don't need to talk about Salah, dude. He wasn't there. It is what it is. Like you said, Winks, we beat Arsenal without him. We beat him without him. So, you can't sit there and say, what if we had this guy or what if it's a what if. The what ifs are bullshit. You got to go out and perform with who you have. And we have a squad.
You accept defeat way differently than some other people I know.
I accept defeat when we play that poorly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like I would with my squad. If we played bad at Lafayette, I'd walk out and say, shit, we were horrible today. We deserve to lose. But
Thiago got on though.
Some lessons, bro.
Huh?
Thiago got some minutes though.
Lessons.
Yeah, you could definitely see the rust. He misplayed.
Very rusty.
He hasn't played. He hasn't played in a year, literally last April. So you give him a little bit of slack. The dude hasn't played in a year, but
he did though. How long did he play? 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
While he was out there, he did complete more thumbs up to his own teammates than anybody else on the field.
It's a big stat.
Hey, that's a signature, bro. That's a signature.
Yeah. That's a St. Louis City special right there.
Yes.
Now, Butch, I am curious. Obviously, the headlines of the game is title race slipping away from Liverpool because those are massive drop points, and Arsenal creeping back into that top spot. But really, it has to be concerning a little bit for the fan base, knowing that it feels like the aura Van Dijk is being a little bit broken. Big mistakes, not able to rebound after a mistake, and now there's talks of him leaving the club at the end of the season. So how are we feeling about the Van Dijk situation? Are you nervous about him leaving? Is it curtains for the big man?
No.
Well, I don't know.
That's all you're getting.
No. You guys can look at Dobes. He's over there. He's over there planning his spin zone for whatever I'm about to say in the next minute about Van Dijk. But how many years has Van Dijk been a world-class player?
2.
That's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Yeah, Champions League winning season, Premier League winning season.
You guys are dumb shits.
Why?
You want to give him a COVID title too?
You think he's been world class for 2 years?
Yeah. Like
that is
two of those years, he was undeniably in the starting 11 of the best 11 in the world for 2 years.
Yes, 100%.
Every other year, you're like, I mean, he's in the top 10 defenders for sure, but like undeniable top 11, no.
I agree with that.
I would take 3 of City's. I would take Saliba. And this is because it like young and age, and it's like Virgil has been like top for a few years for sure, but like at center back, I almost feel like it's a lot easier to lose it. I feel like than it is anything, because so much of it revolves around who you're playing next to and who you're playing with, and I just don't necessarily think that. I don't know, with Klopp leaving, that's the only reason I think that he may leave, is because they're not going to play the same way. And the way that they've played is what's made Virgil successful. And we've seen when they don't have the players like last year that to play that way, he's not that successful.
Okay. I'm just going to disregard everything you guys have said in the last minute. And I'm going to let the world – I'll let the world –
collegiate center backs can't weigh in on a center back discussion?
That's why it's so mind-blowing that 2 collegiate center backs are that dumb to think it's only been 2 years.
Well, man. Easy now. You tell me the season. I'll name a better starting center back.
Bro, he came to Liverpool when he was 25 years old. He's almost 33. That's almost 8 years. And you're saying 2 of those 8 he has only been world class.
Yes.
Just because you're world class once doesn't make you permanently world class.
Yeah, Sergio Ramos is not world class now.
How long was Sergio Ramos world class for?
So long.
Very
long.
Yes.
Brother, when he was at Madrid, he was undeniably in the starting 11 every year.
Absolutely.
Over Van Dijk some of those years.
But notice how it's like the collective yes from the group on that.
Yeah.
But Van Dijk is not a collective.
I haven't heard Winks. Winks, do you think he's been world class for more than 2 years? Go ahead and give me your honest opinion.
Yes, but not all 8 of those years. I think that world classes can be a subjective.
It's like 2 years in a day.
No, world class can be a subjective term sometimes, because even if a team isn't winning trophies, a single player can still be considered world class, and we could look at stats of
I call everyone world class. Remember?
Yeah. On their day.
Exactly, but
no, I would agree with you.
I think if you look at collective stats and defensive dominance over his years at Liverpool, I think it's a tough call to say that outside of the 2 title-winning seasons that he hasn't been world class.
I agree.
I'll take the over on 2.5.
Couldn't clean Vidic's boots, man.
Who?
Before we move on from this, though, I do want to just mention something that I don't know if you guys noticed in the game at all, but Anthony Taylor reffing these important fixtures. What the I just don't understand how that man.
Allegedly, he's England's best. Wasn't that one of the commentators said that he's voted England's best official?
Well, I'm glad you said that. Was the last thing I was going to say. I even looked at Dobes and Griff when we were watching together the last 15 minutes, and I looked at them and I was like, he is losing total control of the game. It was like the 75th minute when Darwin got rugby tackled at half field by Gabriel. He had his arms around his throat, pulled him down, and the ref and Taylor didn't call it. And that's why Klopp was losing it, because he's like, you got to have control. Because he was full on arms around the neck, just pulled him and yanked him. There's a certain standard of what's a foul and not a foul in the game, and that's just blatant foul. But when you let things like that go, you start to lose control. You're going to get chippiness. You're going to get hot-headed. And the last 15 minutes were a shit show from Anthony Taylor and his decision making.
He is, I swear.
Yeah. So I agree with you, Nick. 100%. That's a good shout to put out. That I don't know how this dude's reffing big games like that, but yeah, huge. Credit to Arsenal. They played great, and we got outplayed. Simple as that.
But when you're looking at goalies, what's one of the main stats that you use to judge if a goalie's good?
Goalie?
Yeah.
Most professional goalkeepers at this level are great shot stoppers. Most of them can have good shot stopping ability. I'm looking at your ability to play with the ball at your feet. And that's why Allison pissed me off with what he did, because like you gotta get something on that. Even if you kick it into Van Dijk's nutsack, I don't care what you do. You better get full lace front on that ball. Okay? So that was the wrong choice of word, but anyway, you better get full laces on the ball. Okay? You can't come out and whiff. You can't come out and whiff. So that, I don't know. I'm starting to get a little bit Allison, to me, is still a top goalie in the world, but mistakes like that, if they keep piling up, like we've seen Onana make a lot of mistakes, if they keep piling up, I'm going to start getting worried.
See, me, I judge goalies based off of shutouts. Keeping the ball out of the net. Before we move on, I just do want to let you know that Onana does currently have more shutouts than best goalie in the world, Allison.
You're right. Onana also has 25 more mistakes made than Allison, and probably 10 more mistakes that led to goals.
But I
bet you it's pretty close.
I heard a stat during the United game where they were like going through and they panned to Andre Onana, and they're like, and Andre Onana has officially let in 50 goals this season for Manchester United. And I was like, fuck, man. Like,
that's what I'm saying, bro.
It's either 0 or
there's levels here.
Yeah,
there's levels.
We were up 3-0, and it was funny because the announcers were like, hopefully United gets a 4 so they can get their goal differential back to 0.
Legitimately though, Butch, like, real talk, no banter. Obviously, that is a massive, massive, massive game to lose. Not only because it's Arsenal, but, like, obviously going towards the business end of the season. Like, you are in a title race. Every 3 points is important. Do you think that that's going to be something where you look at it on the documentary in a couple of years and you say, that's where we lost it? Or what do you think? Like, is it still kind of within reach? Because, mind you, City's behind, 3 points? Is it 3 points that they're behind? But they have 2 games at hand. Yeah, 2 games.
One now, yeah.
It's a big thing. So how do you feel about like the title hopes for the rest of the season? Like, I know you kind of spoke on it on like the Mecca Moments like a week and a half ago, but like, what are your thoughts now?
Well, obviously, yeah, it's a tough loss, tough pill to swallow. Every team, especially this is any level of competitive footy. Okay, you're gonna lose. You're gonna eventually lose a game. Right, unless you're just unbelievable, like the Invincibles, you're gonna lose. I'm looking at how do we regroup the next month, because if you look at our fixtures, we've got very winnable games the next 3 weeks, and then in a month from now, we play City at home. So that will be like, if you lose against City at home and City wins out the next month, we win out. Obviously, we drop. They'd be a point above us, right? So you have to look at how a team regroups. That's the only thing you can focus on. Like, you got to put that shit in the rearview mirror, man. Can't let it get in your head, and you got to move. So let's see how elite the club can be and the mentality of the players can be. That's what I'm looking for. We'll figure that out in the next month.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting ride over the next month just to see how everyone responds. Not just you all, but like now Arsenal's the pressure's on, City's the pressure's on, we're the pressure on. And then don't forget, like, as much as we've talked about the title race, like, this season, we're also talking about 3 through 6 as well. Like, those spots are also really close and people are gunning for it. So the European spots this season are also just a pretty prized possession. So we'll see. I don't know. I think that, you know, games aren't won and lost in one game, you know, like, just like technically Arsenal losing to Manchester City last year didn't necessarily lose them the title. It was all the other drop points that they had. But, like, this is a big moment in the season. I'll be curious if once we get to the end of it, despite what happens, if we'll look at it as, like, a really notable part of the season.
No, it could be. You're right. You are not wrong. I mean, if we lose by a point or two, you look back on that loss, and, yeah, that could be a deciding factor. You're not wrong in any sense. No. But we'll see how we regroup.
I think that's just a good segue quick before we switch off here. I mean, I do think because they did play today, and they did just get 2 points within the title or within the lead with a game in hand. City comfortably won today, 3-1 with the Phil Foden hat trick. I mean, anyone have any quick thoughts? I didn't have a chance to actually watch this game today. Anybody want to mention anything?
Yeah, I happened to watch the first half, and I will immediately say it was nice to actually watch possession that was meaningful. I haven't watched it in a while when watching Chelsea play, so Watching City play and possess the ball was very nice. Obviously, the scoreline, Brentford got out early, but I think it was a dominant performance by City. I think we don't talk about Phil Foden enough. I think he is unbelievable. Like, I almost think he's similarly at the level of Jude as far as technical ability, but as far as like commanding a team and being a leader and all that fun stuff, I think Jude clears him. But I think Phil Foden's phenomenal. I think we should probably talk about him a little bit more.
Yep, I'm with that. I will say, like, and again, this is not gambling advice because I'm somehow employed by Rockwood. But every time you see City go down a goal, hit the hammer button, fellas. I think just like hit the hammer button.
Again, we are not promoting anything. We are just giving advice. Proper advice.
I think that's one.
I can promote it.
But
No, City does what City does, man. And you're correct. We don't talk about Phil Foden enough. But I do think he is the most talented English player in the world. And you hit it spot on, like commanding a team, being the dominating presence, being the match winner. Yes, you tip it to Jude, but there's no one that's more technically savvy on that England roster than he is. And he's been doing it, by the way, since he's been 17. Like, he's still so young. He's just been in that, Prem winning side now 4 times, 5 times, whatever it is. Like, he's won so many trophies at his young age.
I'd sell Enzo and Caicedo for him.
Yeah, who wouldn't,
Well, fellas, that's our Premier League wrap-up. I will say we're sort of getting to that point of the year where within the Prem, we haven't had a title race like this in a while, so there's definitely going to be a lot more banter and a lot more exciting games to come from the Prem. Now we're going to move over. I just want to touch on 3 games quickly, sort of our world football section here, because there are some massive fixtures going on around the world. Quickly, just wanted to bring up, I don't know if anybody had a chance to watch them. Feel free to jump in. Leverkusen stays unbeaten, beat Darmstadt 2-0. Tella had a brace. Leverkusen stay atop of Bundesliga. Gladbach also lost to Bayern 3-1. Kane, as Kane does what he does, and he took the lead 1-2-1. And then De Ligt got a third. Reason I do like to bring this up, just because for our football watchers out there, this weekend we do have a top of the table clash. Bayern is actually making the trip to Leverkusen. I think this is kind of the first, not like real test for Xabi and their team, but this is kind of like business end of the season time. Are they for real or are they not for real?
Yeah, I think it's incredible. I know you mentioned it before about the Premier League and how the title race is insane, but all these other leagues as well. Like, we were just talking about the Bundesliga now with the game coming up with Leverkusen and Bayern. But I didn't watch this game, but I did watch the highlights a little bit, and they're just playing some nice football right now.
Yeah,
I think
it's awesome.
Xabi has them playing a style an identity that he implemented in. I also think Xhaka is a great signing for him and has commanded their midfield pretty well.
I could see if Xabi Alonso does, call it an early shout. If Xabi Alonso does go to Liverpool, I could see him bringing Xhaka with him. Truthfully, I think that they would need like a midfield general. I think he could do that. He's used to the Premier League. I think it could happen. But to your point, Nikki, both of those goals that Leverkusen scored, they're just playing great football. Like, it's so easy to watch. And mind you, Tella last year, if you didn't know, was a championship player. He's not like a big signing. Didn't come from the Prem. Didn't come from like a big 6 club in any other league. He's a championship player, and he's starting almost every game for them and producing incredible results. So big shout out to them, and I'll be glued to my TV this weekend watching that game because I think it's a big one.
Leverkusen is much watched TV. There's very few teams in the world that I will like kind of plan my day around if they're playing or not. And I have Leverkusen, 1, because they're enjoyable to watch, but 2, I kind of always love. It's kind of like, I wouldn't compare it like Leicester City type story, but like it kind of has that feel in the Bundesliga of if they can do it, it's like sort of shocks the world.
Yeah.
Moving over to La Liga, I don't know if you guys had a chance yesterday. The 2 Madrid teams played against each other. Atletico made the trip to the Bernabeu to play against Real Madrid. Game finished 1-1. Diaz scored early in the first half, and then Atletico does what Atletico does, and they find a way to get back in the game. Llorente scores in 90+3 to knock that one up 1-1. Madrid currently sitting 2 points off of Girona. They actually play each other this weekend. Butchie, I'm sure you watched this game. Any thoughts?
Dude, Atletico Madrid looks so much different than the past. Have you guys watched any Atletico Madrid this year?
Yes.
They look so much different than years past, man. Their offense is so much more potent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like obviously we can talk about Griezmann. Griezmann is unbelievable.
Yes.
He is unbelievable. He's one of the best players in the world, and it's not even like a discussion about it. But you know who's really caught my eye is the Manchester United reject, Depay.
What I'm talking about. The truth.
Eight goal contributions in his last 6 games for Atletico Madrid, and he had the assist in that 93rd minute goal the other day to draw level. So shout out to Depay. He's starting to kick it on. But God, I hope Real Madrid don't. I hope Girona wins, bro. I hope they win the whole thing. I really do. That you want to talk about a Leicester City story, Dobes?
Yes.
That would be unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a good comp right there.
Yeah.
I will say again, set your schedules for Saturday. How do you say it? Girona?
Girona.
Girona.
I think it's Corona.
Yeah,
Coronas.
Oh, God.
Corona makes the trip to the Bernabeu to see if they can't regain top spot. Fellas, it's finally time for those of you that listen to us to hear a little bit about St. Louis City. St. Louis City over this past weekend, they actually played. I guess it wasn't technically even TV, and you couldn't even search the game on YouTube, but you could actually watch the game. St. Louis City made a trip out to play the LA Galaxy. Ended up coming up with a 2-1 win. First goal being scored by newbie Chris Durkin, and then Thor scoring the second goal in the 88th minute. Any fellas that watch, feel free to jump in and sort of give your thoughts here.
The first goal was a banger.
Yep.
Banger. What a finish, technique to stay on top of that ball. Like, you know how many times, I guarantee you all of us have had that exact same shot and have skied it over many times in our lives. So, like,
100%.
And for the fact that it's his first goal in a City shirt, like, I thought that was awesome for him. I thought it was a great finish. To be fair, as Dobbs alluded, it was very hard to watch this game. I could not catch it live, but did go back and re-watch the game because they don't have highlights. You can only just go back and re-watch it. And the first half and the second half were obviously drastically different with the subs. But I thought the two strikers were interesting. And the only note that I had that I really wanted to bring up was Dobbs mentioned him before, but Pompeu. I like him. And he had the ability to whip in crosses unlike we've seen from recent wingers. And with our two strikers, how we played or started that game, I thought it worked really well. And I think that's kind of what caused the corner and then caused the goal for us. So I thought he is a good shout.
Yeah, I'm not going to get overhyped on it. It's a 2-1 win in preseason. No one ever won a trophy in preseason. If so, Chelsea would have won the Champions League because they were cooking this preseason. They were great. But, just speaking on the goals and only the goals, to see a Durkin goal, just like you said, Nikki, that's great. Like in a St. Louis shirt, first opportunity to put the ball away, he does. If you looked up compilations of him prior to him joining, like if you were on YouTube or on Twitter or whatever, you got to see him score like a couple bangers like that. So he definitely has that in his locker. Now, does that mean he's going to try that every game? I don't know, but great to see, not going to take it away from him. And then to see Thorson score the game winner. He was a guy that actually, like at the end of the season, I talked about in our end of season recap, like I didn't see it in him. He's not someone that excites me out on the wing. I thought that he looked like kind of like a baby Bambi, like running around. Like he's just like so lanky and just couldn't really figure it out. But if what he needed was a year to settle in and get his feet under him and have a good preseason, then he put up some production numbers. I'm all for that. It was interesting to see how central he was playing in the second half. Like he wasn't really playing like a true winger. He was almost playing like as a striker, a second striker. And who knows, maybe that's something to look out for this season. But I'm stoked with the victory, and it's been a long time since we've really been able to talk St. Louis City. So I think there's still holes out there. I think we still need some spots, but glad to come with a win.
Yeah, I watched this game from start to finish, as I did with the Academy game at night as well. But like watching this game, obviously Carnell came into the game and had two completely different lineups. Like the first lineup was Berkey, Totland, Yarrow, Markanovic, Ostrick, Durkin, Vasilev, Klaus, Stilio, and Adeniran. Like instantly coming out in the first 10 minutes of the game, I wasn't exactly thrilled that we kind of set up as like a 4-2-2-2 with kind of Ostrak and Durkin. I will say I was extremely impressed by Durkin and his ability to pick up the ball from the center backs, his ability to start patterns of play, his ability to link up play. I don't even necessarily think this is a hot take because I don't necessarily know what our midfield is going to look like. I'm not surprised if we don't see Durkin sort of take Blom's spot. And I mean that genuinely, just because Blom, when he's at his best, we know how good he is. He's very, very good. He can win tackles. He's a ball winner. He's good at link-up play. But we didn't really see that consistently a whole bunch last year. We kind of saw him 1 or 2 games when he was great, and 1 or 2 games where he wouldn't be. So Durkin, I think, I'm high on. Obviously, the finish. He also loves to tackle. He's my type of player. He's not afraid to put in a tackle, even in a preseason game. I also like the other newbie, Totland, right back. Stepped in, very quick, very pacey. Has the ability to link up play, great recovery speed. Kind of looked like he meshed well a little bit with Yarrow. I don't exactly expect Yarrow to be our starting center back, but he was another one that impressed me. Truthfully, the biggest frustration for the first half was watching the 2 strikers. Like, to me, it's like Big Sam will get some space where all of a sudden he'll get in behind. But, like, Klaus, to me, is just so good when he's in the box. And finding those areas, we've seen the just touch-bang finishes from last year that he had. And when we play with 2 strikers, he doesn't necessarily play that way a whole bunch. And also, I guess it's probably the lack of playing with each other. But the Galaxy could break us down, this sort of heavy metal, high press. It might be the formation we were playing or whatever it was. But one pass, and Durkin and Ostrak were beat. Like, we saw Durkin take a bad foul, take a yellow card. We saw Ostrak take a foul, probably should have got a yellow card. So, yeah, I mean, that was the first half. Obviously happy with the goal. Moving on to the second half, like, complete switch over. I don't necessarily even want to read the lineup. I'm just going to go ahead with my sort of, like, I guess, standouts. It has to be AZ. AZ right now is coming off as the player that, at least in my opinion, I know it's 1 game, preseason game, but he's in must-watch territory. What I mean by that is he's coming off of the high of getting a national team call-up. He's coming off of last year not really necessarily being like the first name on the team sheet. He would start some games, he would not start other games. Every single thing that we had in the second half ran through AZ, from link-up play in the midfield to, you saw the goal. Shout out our boy Johnny Nelson. Johnny Nelson made a turnover for the LA Galaxy. AZ got the ball, slipped in Thor, and then we scored. Got to bring up another newbie, Kojima, if I'm saying that name right. The young kid, draft pick from Wake Forest. He came in, stepped to the midfield, was extremely impressed with his ability to turn on the half-turn, link-up play with AZ in that midfield. There was some tight, intricate passing, some triangles that were going on in that midfield. The final piece I have to bring up, I guess, is the positives. Like, Thor scored. I still don't think he's it. I really don't. Like, I still don't think he has the ability to really do anything. He got himself in a good position and scored. I also want to bring up McSorley. He's the kid we drafted. I think it was the 2nd or 3rd round from Providence. He came in. I think he's going to be an STL City 2 guy. But he was dangerous, made some runs in behind. Probably should have scored on a one-on-one with the goalie. But then sort of the drawback on the second half to me was our back four was terrible. The LA Galaxy came out. I think they played their starters or their older guys for about 15, 20 minutes and then brought in a whole bunch of academy players. And our back four still definitely couldn't handle it. I do think it's just a lack of playing together and, whatever you sort of want to say. I was impressed with Watts. He's just our utility guy. He can kind of do whatever. But there's a lot of positives. I still think this was a game where it's like Carnell's trying to figure out his 11. We didn't play Nielsen. We didn't play Lewin. Kind of trying to fit the pieces together. But I definitely think from this game there's a lot more positives as there is negatives.
Yeah, I think what the lineup's going to be is going to be interesting. So starting off in that 4-2-2, it almost feels like, we haven't seen Ostrak play that deep ever. He was kind of playing like a striker, like a cam role last season, and then he showed up as like partnering next to Durkin for this game. So it almost feels like we're going to come out in a 4-2-2 or a 4-4-2 diamond almost. And who knows what that diamond will be consisted of. But yeah, it's a good shout with Durkin maybe coming for Blom's spot. But Carnell has a lot to think about. He's also coming off of a huge extension. Shout out Carnell. That's big for the city of St. Louis, and I think it was a 2-year extension, so it's good to build around, good to have that identity. Obviously, Lutz has a big hand to play in that, but yeah, he has a lot to decide, and I would certainly love to see another winger signed. And maybe we're not playing with wingers, so maybe that's why we're not doing it, but I think we still need a winger and a striker, man. Like, I think it's too much pressure to put on McSorley and Glover. To be that like secondary backup striker, and Big Sam and Klaus, as we've said a million times, they don't work well together. So I think we still need that, and we have 2 weeks before we play in the CONCACAF Champions League. So a lot to get done in the next 2 weeks, and we'll see how it goes.
And please, for the love of God, do not let us play a 4-2-2-2. Please, bro.
Bradley.
Well, with that being said, fellas, we're going to wrap up here. Keep an eye out for over the next couple of weeks. We're going to do a full STL City dive, full season preview, expectations, standout stars, what we're kind of think of season 2. In the meantime, make sure to follow us on all our socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever it may be. And for those that listen, thanks for making it this far. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Peace.
Cheers.